Hi, Ross Gala of Anderson O'Brien, Burt Screenis and Gala, and I'd like to take a few minutes to explain to you what we generally talk about when we meet with folks for the first time. We look at exactly what the jury would be asked if the case went all the way through trial and was submitted to the jury. That's how everybody actually evaluates us and our opponents, who are most often attorneys hired by insurance companies or, before we commence a lawsuit, the claims adjusters for the insurance companies. So I'm going to spend some time just going over, in a simple situation, a auto collision involving just two drivers. They're the only people who are at fault. And this can be extrapolated, when I'm telling you, to any other scenario where you have a person making a claim against one, two, or three different people who may be at fault, which often may be the case in a product liability case as well. So the first question: at and immediately before the collision, was driver A negligent in the manner in which he or she operated his or her vehicle? Answer yes or no. Only answer this question if you answered question 1 yes. Was such negligence a cause of the collision? Answer yes or no. At and immediately before the collision, was driver B negligent in the manner in which he or she operated his or her vehicle? Answer yes or no. Only answer this question if you answered question 3 yes. Was such negligence a cause of the collision? Answer yes or no. So, to divide things up, if they answer questions 1 and 2 yes, okay, great. If they answer number 3 no, you win on what we call liability. You will win your case. Then we skip one of the questions and go right to damages. If they answer yes to 3 and 4, then we get to what is often seen as the most important question on the jury verdict, and that's the comparison question. And this question begins with the premise: answer it only if you answered questions 2 and 4 yes. 2, was the person you were claiming at fault causally negligent? 4, were you causally negligent? And they're told, assuming that the total negligence that contributed to cause the collision equals 100%, how much do you attribute to driver A, the person you claim was causally negligent, driver B, you? Now, the reason you'll understand is if they answered questions 1 and 2 yes, and 3 no, you skip this, and you go right on to the next question, which is damages. And I'll get to that next. If they answered all 4 questions, 1 through 4 yes, then this becomes the all-important question for a number of reasons. Wisconsin is what's called a modified comparative negligence state. In essence, you have to prove that the person you are claiming was at fault is equal, their negligence is equal to or greater than yours. So if the jury came back in this occurrence and said driver A was 49.9 and you were 50.1% at fault, you lose. If they come back and say 50-50, you win, but your damages are reduced by 50%. So you can see, if you're more than 50% at fault, even by 1/10, or it could even be by less than 1/10, as long as it's 50 plus something, okay, you will lose under our modified comparative negligence law. And if there is any negligence attributed to you, also, you got to understand, you win on liability, but the percentage that you are found to be at fault directly reduces what your damages are. So if, in this instance, it's 50-50, okay, then we go to damages, you answer all these questions, and let's assume that the total of A through F for your damages equals 100%, and you were more than 50% at fault. The jury still has to answer this question, but you get none of it. Oftentimes, and this is confusing, we can't tell the jury what their verdict means. The judge can't instruct them on it, and the lawyers cannot tell them what their verdict means. Oftentimes, juries, when they're interviewed afterwards, think, oh, well, I found the at-fault driver, I found the person they were suing at fault for 60%, for 40%, and them for 60%, but we thought you would get 40% of your damages. Not true. But we can't tell them that. You need to know that, and that's how our system works. When you get to the damages, we talk about past healthcare expenses, future healthcare expenses, past diminishment in earning capacity, future diminishment in earning capacity, past pain, suffering, and often disability, future pain, suffering, and often disability. I think the healthcare expenses are fairly self-explanatory, your medical costs, and that includes over-the-counter medications. Future medical expenses, you got to have an expert, a doctor usually, to say you're going to have them. Diminishment in earning capacity, past and future. Earning capacity is capacity. It's not plain lost wages. It's what capacity did you have to earn, and a good example of this is you could say, okay, let's take a look at a gallon of water. If we poke a hole halfway down the gallon of water, and the gallon of water is your total capacity. If we poke a hole halfway down the gallon of water and we can't fix that hole, you have lost 50% of your earning capacity. If we can fix that hole by future education and get it back up and put the hole up at 75%, you've lost 25% of your earning capacity. Pain, suffering, and disability is a whole context of things including embarrassment, apprehension, fear, and actually includes pain and suffering. Unfortunately, what we found is most of the pain and suffering generally is the mental kind. It's the anxiousness. It's what's my future going to be like given my injured state and injured condition. We take all of that into account, and that's how we evaluate the case. The first 5 questions deal with one of the real important questions, whether the person you're claiming is at fault is actually going to be liable to you under the law for your damages. The last question are what your damages are. So we divide the verdict into liability and damage questions, and then we try to answer your questions about what your claim may be worth. I hope this has helped. Thanks for listening.